All right. So in your RFP documents, what sort of information do we ask vendors to respond back to? So there's obviously cost. We also sometimes ask for capabilities, past performance, methodology, training, and the list just goes on and on and on. This is one of the clients we worked with. It's a Fortune 500 company, and this is just one page of their requirements. They're asking for a lot of things in there. The most interesting one is the organizational chart. And for those of you that who participated on evaluation before, how easy it is to evaluate org charts. It's it's really fascinating to see how people evaluate that. So for those of you who have participated in proposal evaluations before, how many of you really wakes up in the morning looking forward to evaluate proposal? Are you really excited to evaluate proposals? I mean, most evaluators would rather do what? Their own job, other than reading 500 pages of proposals. So, why do we ask all of this information? So that typically the answer that we get, it's either because this is typically what we've done in the past, or because we had a recent bad experience with a project, and clients now started to think by asking more and more information or certain information that can actually protect us. So as you have more and more bad experiences, the clients will start asking for more and more information. Now the proposals are getting bigger and bigger, and your evaluators, I'm not sure about you, if your boss may be in the room or in the session with us today, maybe don't answer this, but if you are an evaluators, do you read every proposal, or how do you actually evaluate this big proposal? Do you read every page on every proposal you receive? I mean, in over 20 years, we maybe met two individuals that have done that. Because if you think about it, it's just not possible to read 500. If you have got, like, for example, 5 vendors, and every one of them is submitting, let's say, 50 pages proposal, which is really small number of pages. How can an evaluators in a 2 or 3 weeks period go through and thoroughly understand over 250 pages and score them plus doing their own work? How can you do that? It's just not possible. So what we started to see now is, with all of this information that we ask vendors to submit, the evaluators tend not to read every page of every proposal on your submission. And maybe on the future sessions, I can share with you some of the real stories we've heard from vendors, and some of them are really funny. So again, what sort of impact will that have if your evaluation team is not reading every page on every proposal they receive? So that's a case study of, that was a high-tech facility that we've done. It was over $1 billion project. The client at that time received 6 proposals, and this is a list of their requirements, and you see the different items in there. One item, which is the safety plan, that item by itself, on average, was about 356 pages. So the evaluation team assigned 2.5 weeks just to evaluate that component. After the 2.5 weeks, we looked at the scores, and the difference was less than 2%. So we spent 2.5 weeks for less than 2% of a difference between vendors. Is that a good use of your time? I mean, is that even a very good way to differentiate between vendors? Okay, so are we suggesting that safety is not important? No, of course not. But what we're saying here If that's not going to help you differentiate between expertise, do not use it as an evaluation factor. Just use it as a pass or fail. Either they submit it or they don't. The details of that can be flushed out where? In the clarification phase with that one vendor that you identified as potentially the highest qualified vendor. So, what's really interesting here is we hear a lot of clients saying that we don't award project just based on cost. But if you have got almost about the same score for all the other elements of the proposal, now what is the award is going to revert back to now if everything else scores about the same? Cost. And that's why a lot of owners thinks that they're not going price based, but they are going price based because you've made everything else what? Meaningless or pointless.